Hi, here's a question for you. When you pick up your guitar to do some practice, are you practicing or are you just playing? What's the difference? Something I've always encouraged my students to do is to have an awareness of the difference between practicing and just playing. You know, if you pick up your guitar and you just, play the sort of stuff that you normally play the usual sort of tunes, jam along to the same backing tracks that you always jam along to, you will get better. The more you play, your fingers will become more dexterous. You be a little bit more fluid. You're picking a bit looser. Your touch will get better, but the improvement's going to be kind of gradual, relatively speaking, compared to if you actually target your effort to some proper practice. So what do I mean by practice? Practice is about working on something, through an exercise or some other means, something that'll make you progress, something that'll make you get better at what you're doing. The typical thing that you think of when you talk about practice is, say, just like running through scales and exercises, that sort of thing. Yeah, there's various exercises you could do. So you could start off, say, just playing scales through. Start off playing the C major scale down here. And C major, go to the next position in the circle of fifths, play like a G major. G major, then go to play D major, A major, E major, and so on, till you've gone right the way around the circle of fifths. From there you can start playing different scale types, playing minor scales, modes, that sort of thing. Or you can think about playing patterns, rather than playing a scale through, play things with like a 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4, 5 type of pattern, all the way through the scales, and move that around the circle of fifths and so on. There's all sorts of combinations. Then you've got just like picking exercises, so like 1, 2, 3, 4 patterns, that sort of thing. Loads of combinations, and if you work through all of those, you can keep yourself going for hours. Problem is, it's going to get kind of boring. It's not really stimulating, and it's just a means to an end. It's just an exercise. It's not the real thing. What it's playing guitar is about playing the guitar. It's about playing tunes, playing stuff that people are going to want to listen to. If you just sit and practice scales and exercises, yeah, you'll get really proficient at them. But at the end of the day, no one's going to want to come along and pay money to sit there and just watch you and listen to you run through scales and exercises. Playing guitar is about playing music. So those exercises are good for helping you to get used to, say, scale types that you're not used to, or to really concentrate on developing your picking technique, or breaking out of a rut and looking for different picking patterns and patterns within scales. But at the end of the day, it's just an exercise. It's a way to help you develop, but it's not about playing. The do serve, though, is a very good warm-up. So you always include some at the start of your practice routine. Anybody doing some sport, they'll always do a few stretches and stuff to get warmed up. It's the same with playing the guitar, a few slow scales and exercises, and build it up, get yourself warmed up, and then you're ready to play. Then, as part of your practice routine, just play, or ideally if you've got backing tracks or something you can jam along with, do that. But when you're playing like that, it's playing for development, it's playing for practice. So think about, don't just run through the patterns and the licks that you're comfortable with and you always play. Think about ways to get yourself out of your comfort zone, to experiment, extend your playing, and find new things that you want to do. When you're playing as part of the practice routine, it's a different sort of discipline. You're going to experiment a bit more. Some of the results might not be quite what you're expecting because it's new stuff that you're experimenting with. That's all part of the process, and that's how you develop and you learn, and you listen to something that you've played and think, oh well, that worked or that didn't work. Trying to work out why something worked or didn't, and that's what helps you to progress. And if you back that up with some good solid exercises to improve your technique and to help you learn new scale types, or improve your picking technique or whatever, that the whole thing helps you to develop. word on that though is if you're experimenting and you want to try new stuff out, and you're not playing just solo with the guitar, you're not just playing against backing tracks, if you're actually playing with other people, if you're playing with your bandmates or whatever, warn them that you're approaching something with a bit of experimentation, because if they're used to you normally playing really well, and then you start being a bit experimental and trying new stuff and it doesn't work out, you don't want to put them off the stride, and you don't want them to lose confidence in you. Explain that you're trying to come up with new stuff, and they'll understand. It's all part of the learning process, and I'm sure it's something that they would do themselves. Something else to think about is how you set your expectations, because if you're playing, you've got a particular stage in your playing, and you think, well, I want to progress, I want to play some particular run over a backing track, I want to play it a bit more fluidly or faster, or more harmonically interesting. If you then start experimenting and trying to come up with new stuff, what immediately trips off your fingers very likely isn't what you're actually hearing in your mind's ear. That's a problem. Your brain is always going to be a few steps ahead of your fingers. So many things in life, you can think about things quicker than perhaps you can physically express them. So it's important when you're playing to not be overly focused on what you want to achieve. So if you're playing or you can play a particular thing and say, well, I want to improve that by doing X. There's a whole load of space between where you are now, where you want to go to, so that's your target. And you might think, well, if I'm not hitting that target, anything in between is kind of substandard. It's not. What you're playing now is probably all right. This is your ideal over here. This stuff in the middle ground, it's actually going to sound okay, but maybe it's not to your ears what you want to achieve. So if you're hearing stuff coming off the guitar, you think, oh, that's not what I want to achieve. Don't get wound up and don't get frustrated, because it might not actually be bad. It's just not necessarily what you're wanting to achieve as an end product. A good example, something that happened to me a couple of weekends ago. I was waiting to go out. My other half was just getting ready. I had a bit of time spare while she was getting sorted out. So I came through here, plugged the guitar in, and just started jamming away to a backing track. And I was noodling around trying a few new things out, and now and again I thought, that wasn't quite what I was going for. The phrasing was a bit off or whatever. And after a couple of minutes, heads popped around the door. She says, "Oh, you play? It's just you playing? I thought you had the radio on. I was wondering what it was you were listening to." That's quite good. She shrugged her shoulders and kind of wandered off, which in a way was a compliment, a bit of a backhanded one. That was good. I didn't realise it was you. But what she was hearing was different to what I was hearing, because I was kind of thinking, well, I want to achieve a particular thing over a chord sequence, and I wasn't quite nailing it, and I was thinking, I'm going short. But actually, the overall thing wasn't that bad. So keep that in mind. It's you could easily demotivate yourself by saying, I've set myself this aspiration up here and I'm not hitting it. Yeah, but there's a whole load of stuff down here that's still really good. And if you're progressing from down here to here, yeah, that's still progress. It might not be ultimately where you want to be up here, but it's still good stuff. When you're practicing as well, always be mindful. What is it that you're practicing? What is it you're trying to achieve? If you're doing your practice routine, you're doing some exercises or whatever. If you ask yourself the question, well, what am I aiming from this? Is it to improve the way that I understand the way a scale sounds, or am I doing it to improve my picking technique, or to improve the stretch in my left hand, or the speed that I can do chord changes? Think about what it is you're trying to achieve. If you ever ask yourself that question and you think, actually, I don't know, I'm just really going through the motions because I always sit down and I play these exercises, then you need to take a step back and reassess, well, what do you want to achieve? What do you want to develop with? There's no point in just doing exercises for the sake of it. Keep it focused, and that's how you'll progress. Also, practicing can be a bit of a chore. If you're working hard to achieve something, it might get a bit frustrating at times. If you play professionally as well, picking up the guitar, it's like going to work, and there's going to be days where you don't feel that particularly inspired to pick the guitar up. You know, you still owe it to your audience or whoever it is you're doing a recording session for, or if you're teaching, you still owe it to your students to do as good a job as you can. But you know, if you find when you're coming to pick the guitar up to practice or whatever, you're not looking forward to it, you're almost like resenting the time that you spend in practicing, then, you know, stop really thinking, take a step back and think about what it is you're doing. You know, this is meant to be fun. You know, so many people, you know, play guitar for a hobby, for a release. You know, it's an enjoyment thing. You've got to get fun. You've got to have fun playing. You know, and if it just becomes a chore, then, you know, then something's wrong. So, you know, think about, you know, what is it that's frustrating you? Is it that you're trying to practice or trying to get to something too quick and you're getting frustrated that you can't hit that and it's getting you down? Or, you know, is it, you know, you've over practiced and actually physically it hurts because you pulled a muscle? If that's the case, well, stop. You know, give yourself some recovery time. Don't over push yourself. You know, playing the guitar shouldn't be a chore. Play for fun, for enjoyment, to entertain other people. You will enjoy it. They'll enjoy it if you're doing a good job of it. But as a means to an end, you need to practice, you know, to develop, to get better. And yeah, you do need to work at that, but there's a way that you can structure your practice time and so on that makes it not such hard work, and you can still have fun. So rather than sitting down and playing exercises for 4 hours or something non-stop, you can do, you know, 20 minutes of exercises, then jam for a little bit, do some more advanced exercises, play for a bit more, you know, and break your practice routine up so that it's enjoyable, so that it's varied, so that it keeps you stimulated. So something to think about, you know, differentiate between playing and practicing, and make sure that, you know, when you pick up the guitar, you know what it is you're doing, what it is you're trying to achieve, and try and set yourself aside some time, you know, every time you pick up the guitar, some of it, you know, if you can, to treat it towards practice and development. Okay, so good luck with that. Hope you found that useful, and see you in another video sometime soon. Cheers.